Housing Board and also an affordable housing lender with BWE. Can I get a list, please? Oh, thank you. For the roll call today, do we have Nancy Jackson?
I'm here.
Hi, Nancy. Ryan Jones.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Ryan. James Martinez.
I am here.
Hi, James. J. Ryan Moses.
Here.
Hi. Hi, is Candace Payne on? LaDon Sperling. Monique Terpstra.
I'm here.
Hi, Monique.
Hi.
Great. So today we have absent Candace Payne and LaDon Sperling. Do we have any proxies for either of them?
I have not received any requests.
Okay. We'll circle back before we get into the applications just to see if Candace and LaDon have joined. So up next, and we have the approval of the March 2025 meeting votes. Do we have any questions or comments from the board members on the March 2025 meeting notes? Hearing no questions, can I ask for a motion of approval for the March 2025 meeting votes?
This is Ryan Moses. So moved.
I'll
Second. Oh, go ahead. Whoever's.
Nancy, it's okay.
All right, I hear a motion from Ryan and a second from LaDon, and LaDon is in attendance. By LaDon. All those in favor signified by aye or hand raise.
Aye.
Aye.
Is anybody opposed or abstaining? Okay, excellent. Thank you all. That motion passes. I would like to turn it over to Allison George for the director's comments.
Thank you, Anthea. That's a picture of us in DC, actually. And so it wasn't quite cherry blossom time when we were there. It was still a little early, but spring is upon us, and excited to see the grass turning green here on the Front Range, for those of you on the Front Range. I think first I have a few highlights, and I'll talk about the DC visit, and then also congratulate our reappointed members and our newest board member. So Candace Payne of Flagler is reappointed for the 4th Congressional District. As a reminder for our guests on the phone or on the video, our board members are appointed by congressional district. Ryan Moses, congratulations, Colorado Spring, reappointed for the 5th Congressional District. And then our newest board member, Ryan Jones, from Boulder, Colorado, appointed from the 2nd Congressional District. So thank you all and congratulations. We're incredibly proud and excited for you to be working with us on our mission to partner with local communities and create housing opportunities for Coloradans who face the greatest challenges in accessing affordable, safe, and secure homes. So thank you. Appreciate that. Teresa's actually going to, Teresa Casano, toward the end of our meeting, will be talking more about bringing a work session together for all of our board members in May. And thank you, Anthea, for hosting us at your offices. Appreciate that as well. But she will be talking to you more about the topics, the timing, as we're looking to have that work session. Before I jump into the Washington, D.C. visit, which is very interesting, I wanted to, board appointments, I believe, are 4 years. Could I phone a friend and verify that? Either Laura or Teresa, Ariel, if you're on the line.
4 years, correct.
This is LaDon. That's how long mine was.
Okay, thank you. It is 4 years. Memory serves me correctly. I wanted to highlight a super cool project that I got to attend the groundbreaking for. And Monique, I had the opportunity to meet Adrienne Maddox. I hear that you are also on her board for the Denver Indian Health and Family Services. So I attended the 9th and Navajo groundbreaking, and it was an incredibly heart-opening experience, humbling experience. It's going to be beautiful and really have a tremendous impact. Very proud that the state could be a part of it, and excited to see it actually open and serving people. But not only is it affordable housing. Oh, Monique, do you want to say something? Please do. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm just very proud of everything that is going on with that. It's amazing. It's an amazing project. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for serving on both boards. Appreciate you. Thank you. But it was opened by the Lakota Way Healing Center and Native dancers, and really did a tremendous job. And that was Doug Goodfeather, the executive director, that led that effort and did the ground blessing. And so it was very meaningful. And I just wanted to highlight that before I jump into DC, which is also meaningful in different ways. So turning now to DC, and they probably do have cherry blossoms that might be blooming now, but they weren't there when we were there. I was there for the Council of State Community Development Agencies Program Managers Conference. At the time, HUD officials were not allowed to participate, whether they were appointed and or service. So no HUD officials actually did participate, and usually they do, because it is an opportunity for us to hear directly from the people in charge of the federal programs to share with us the direction of things. But that was not an opportunity this year. And so we did have tremendous speakers, but not HUD. That said, I did take the opportunity, and Julio Zafrano was able to join me in attending some Hill visits. And so stopped by every one of our offices. So all of the congressional districts that you all represent, I was able to stop by their offices and had the opportunity actually to meet with several staffers while I was there. Because the work that the state does together with the federal government is what really helps serve Coloradans in the best way. And so the work that we were doing was really, and communicating with our congressional delegation, was really lent toward ensuring we can protect these programs that we know have a great impact in our communities. And so that's both housing, that's services, and so really good connection, I would say, with the staffers, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And so that work will continue. I'm happy to answer any questions specific to either the Hill visits or for the conference. The conference with COSDA, that is really focused on the federal programs that we operate in partnership with HUD. So the U.S. Housing and Urban Development Department. So happy to answer any questions that folks have. No questions? I can tell you there's a lot more work to be done, and Teresa will take it at the end of the meeting to talk through next steps in our work session with our board, and we can talk through what opportunities there might be in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so
I'll
much,
send it back to
Allison.
you.
Appreciate those comments and updates. Next on our agenda is Eagle Villas. And presenting, I will be recusing myself from Eagle Villas. And actually, this might be a good time to ask, are there any other deals here that anyone needs to recuse themselves from? Presenting today for Eagle Villas is James Russell.
Thanks, Anthea. James is actually unfortunately unexpectedly off today. So Fallon Miller here, I will be starting the presentation of this project and hand it out. So this project is essential in preserving and improving one of the most important affordable housing assets in Eagle County. Eagle Villas is home to 120 families at various income levels with an average affordability rate of 57.1%. Located in the heart of Eagle County, this project faces unique challenges. As a mountain resort community, Eagle County has seen rapid increases in housing prices, making affordable housing scarce. With limited land availability and rising market rents, new development is costly and difficult, which underscores the importance of preserving existing affordable housing stocks such as Eagle Villas. This project represents more than half of the tax credit financed housing in the town of Eagle. The proposed funding recommendation of $3.4 million will help fund the rehab of these 120 units. This investment will cover vital improvements, including but not limited to energy efficiency upgrades, new kitchen and bathroom amenities, and exterior renovations. These enhancements will not only improve the quality of life for current residents, but also ensure that Eagle Villas continues to serve the community for decades to come. With that, I will turn it over to Blaze Rostello, Vice President of Ulysses Development Group, and Tori Franks, the Resiliency Director of Eagle County.
Thank you, Fallon. Thank you to the board for the opportunity just to present the project and answer any questions you may have. This has been quite an arduous process. It started all the way back in the fall of 2023 when we were made aware that this property was being marketed actually as a conversion to market rate. It was at the very end of its expiring use of its land use restrictive agreement with CHFA for 100 of the 120 units. We were able to successfully put the property under contract and close on the acquisition of the property using some bridge financing sources with National Equity Fund, with our partners at Eagle County Housing and Development Authority, as well as bringing Eagle County Housing and Development Authority in as a special limited partner at that acquisition that occurred in June of 2024 last year. And for the balance of the last 10 months, we've been working to assemble all of the necessary resources to do a renovation of the property. It has not been renovated at all really since it was originally constructed in 1994. And then there's a second phase one building that was constructed in 1996. So we're making substantial upgrades to the property to allow us to preserve it for an additional 60 years, which is our commitment that we made to the county at the time that we acquired it. And like I said, we've just assembled all of the tax exempt volume cap from the statewide balance at the state, from some of the surrounding jurisdictions like Pitkin County, and from 2 years of bond allocation from Eagle County. So it's been a hugely collective effort from a ton of stakeholders across the state. Many of the people on the phone today were super appreciative to be able to preserve this project, and happy to answer any questions that you may have as we go along.
Thank you, Blaze. Nancy?
Thank you very much. I have no doubt that this project is really needed, but I'm curious as to what kinds of renovations you're going to be doing that will last for 60 years. That's a substantial amount of time, and I'm really happy that you're renovating rather than tearing everything down. But I'm just kind of curious as to what kinds of renovations you're doing.
Yeah, it's a pretty substantial renovation, both interior and exterior. So on the exterior, we are actually removing all of the siding so we can put exterior insulation. The buildings don't have it, so it's going to really help improve the energy efficiency putting brand new siding. We're replacing all the windows and all the sliding glass doors, new roofs and solar panels on the roofs, and then some site improvement stuff, some surface parking and some of the grounds. That's all the exterior work. On the interior of the units, we're doing all new kitchen cabinets, Energy Star appliances, low flow fixtures. So we're completely renovating the kitchens. We're also renovating the bathrooms with low flow fixtures, and then doing new flooring throughout the apartments and painting, as well as new energy efficient light fixtures as well. So that's in summary the interior and the exterior renovations.
And that's substantial. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. Ryan?
Yeah, I have a couple of quick questions. One for a couple for the developer real quick. How confident are you with your GC, considering they haven't worked in Colorado and may not know the nuances of the resort communities, community and pricing?
Yeah, appreciate the question. Our contractor has worked in Colorado. Actually, they're doing an in-place renovation right now on a property in Denver, a high-rise senior property called Columbine Towers. It's about 180 units. So they've got a pretty extensive connection with a set of subcontractors, both on the Front Range as well as in the mountains, which they've been building over the last several months. And then they have some national subcontractors that they work with as well. But they do this kind of in-place renovation work all around the country. And we're actively about 3/4 of the way done with our property here in Denver.
Okay, thank you. And this one might be for DOH staff and Fallon. I think you said James is not here, so maybe this can be saved for later. But I just noticed that when you add the two funding sources together, it's above the recommended levels in terms of subsidy per unit. And I just wanted to know what the circumstances were for this variance.
Yeah, so just want to name, right, that THLF was a separate funding source that was funded a while back, I think 2 years ago now. And at that time, right, there was allowable for layering of those subsidies. So looking at it in that way, it's kind of a different scenario that we live in now with the competitive nature and funding and not going above those limits. But back when that was awarded, it was a different
And I'll
environment.
just say, Ryan, we recognize this is above the normal standards for our projects. That said, this is a really unique asset in a rural resort community. And so when we do choose to go above standards, there has to be a compelling reason. The compelling
Sure.
reason for the state to be involved here is that there are limited affordable housing assets in Eagle County. And this is preservation as well as a 60-year extension of some of those affordability limitations. So, we do vary. We try to explain that, but this felt like a critical asset to preserve. And as Blaise mentioned, really a group effort with the local community, the county being very much at the table the whole time.
Sure, you bet. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would also just say the biggest cost driver, it's a fortunate thing that we were able to put it under contract, but it's a $39 million acquisition price. So it's a real acquisition price, and that's driven the cost a lot. It would have been great to preserve this asset 5 to 7 years ago. The acquisition price would have been probably a lot less.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure very challenging. So do you own it now? Does Ulysses own it now?
We lost you, Blaise. They do.
It sounds like
They
that.
do.
Okay.
They acquired it back when we funded the THLF.
All right,
Okay,
good questions.
very good. Thank
Any
you.
other questions from the board? Thank you, Blaise.
Yeah,
Next on the agenda is the supplemental funding request. We have 3 of them, and Jose Trujillo will be presenting.
Hello, can you hear me? All right. Well,
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Trujillo. I am the homeownership team manager here at DOH. Our team kind of handles the homeownership. We handle kind of contracts that deal with homeownership once they've been executed through the life of the contract. So we'll provide technical support and then do the monitoring and closeout of homeownership project contracts. I want to first start by thanking the State Housing Board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present these supplemental funding requests to you. The 3 supplemental funding requests that I'm presenting today are for SB 22-160 funds. The 22-160 funds are for mobile home parks. So the 2 main eligible uses for 22-160 funds are to assist mobile home parks with the acquisition of their parks, and then also to help with rent stabilization to keep lot rents affordable. We have a little bit over $6.2 million to award left in this SB 22-160 funds. And so we are recommending that we split those funds equally between the 3 entities that have been providing or administering these 22-160 funds for the last year or so. The 3 entities are Resident Ownership Capital, or ROC, Impact Development Fund, IDF, and then Thistle Rock, just Thistle. We're going to kind of combine IDF and ROC for the first part of this because they are basically doing similar administering the project, the fund similarly. IDF and ROC are basically providing below market interest rate loans to resident-owned communities to assist in acquiring their mobile home parks. To date, between the 2 of them, they have assisted with the acquisition of 4 mobile home parks, totaling roughly $8.5 million. There are about another 3 in different underwriting stages, about $6.5 million to be approved shortly. And they've also identified between 7 and 10 potential mobile home park acquisitions in the future. The additional funding request will enable both IDF and ROC to assist with another 1 to 2 mobile home park acquisitions in the next few years. The third entity is Thistle Rock. Thistle provides technical assistance for parks seeking to organize and become and to purchase their parks. They basically assist a resident or a community that is looking to become a resident-owned community and help them assist in purchasing their park. They also assist with rent stabilization. Let's see, Thistle has already awarded 12 different grants to mobile home parks to assist with keeping those lot rents affordable with things like earnest money deposits when they're looking to purchase, for pre-development costs, and also some infrastructure improvements. Supplemental funds will enable Thistle to kind of administer the program through the end of their current contract, which is January 31st of 2029. I know we have members, representatives from both Thistle and IDF available if you have any specific questions regarding their programs. Thank you again for the opportunity to present to you.
Thank you, Jose. Any questions from the board? I have a couple of questions. First question is Thistle Rock and Resident Ownership Capital. How are those entities related, and how do you track that those funds aren't being, or just how do you track those funds if they're related entities?
Tim, are you
Yes,
available?
I am. Hi there, I'm Tim Townsend. I'm the director of Thistle Rock. To answer your question is that we're 2 separate entities. So Rock USA Capital, they operate on their own, their own CDFI lending organization. We operate separately from them. We're just part of a network with Rock USA, where we, being the CTAP, Certified Technical Assistance Provider, we get a direct line to work with them and bring deals to seek, affordable financing for the mobile home parks to become resident owned. So we don't really touch their funding or even really see or anything unless it's benefiting our deals. And then we operate with our funds completely separate as well.
That's helpful, Tim. So 2 separate entities, bright line in between them.
Correct. Yes.
Great. Thank you for that. The second question that I had is Resident Ownership Capital as well as Impact Development Fund had a comment in the narrative saying that this additional funding, so specifically the supplemental funding, was going to provide funds to an additional 1 to 2 mobile home parks. More of a question for DOH staff. How do you track that? I mean, is it, if it goes to just 1 park instead of 2, do you then get some money back? Do you review the applications for each of those parks, or do you delegate it to these entities and give them the authority to do what they need to do with the funds at this point?
So yeah, it could just be 1 to 2 because it just depends on the park and the need. So it could be that if they have $2 million, it could be 2 parks that each need 1 million. It could be 1 park that needs 2 million. It could end up being more parks if the funds needed is less. It's just we will definitely monitor what is needed, how much is used, and then they obviously won't be able to spend more than what the awards say.
Okay, so there is monitoring that goes on beyond this award.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that. Any other questions from the board on these requests? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to the private activity bonds recommendation for Bradley Ridge Apartments, and presenting is Lisa Blakeney.
Good afternoon. I'm the PAB program manager, and I'm presenting the project that applied for statewide balance in March. It's Bradley Ridge Apartments, and the applicant is Colorado Springs Housing Authority, and the developer is Lincoln Avenue Communities. The request for the request for statewide balance PABs is $7 million to support the creation of 336 new affordable housing units in Colorado Springs. This is a new construction multifamily rental project. This request includes both phase 1 and phase 2 of the project. 100% of the units will be restricted at 60% or lower AMI. The unit mix comprises 168 2-bedroom, 84 3-bedroom, and 84 4-bedroom units. There will be 20 units reserved for veterans and their families through an MOU with Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center. In the November 2024 round of statewide balance PABs, phase 1 was awarded $5 million. Together, phase 1 and phase 2 are a $153 million project. The city of Colorado Springs is providing its total PAB direct allocations for 2024 and 2025, along with part of its 2023 allocation, totaling just shy of $65 million. The 4% tax credit award is expected in July 2025, and the project's estimated close date is September 30th, 2025. The primary market area has historical population and household growth projected to continue through 2028. And within the PMA, there's a sizable percentage of 4 or more person households, which bodes well for the project's unit types. Staff is recommending an additional statewide balance PAB award of $7 million, bringing the total statewide balance awarded to the project to $12 million. As a percentage of the aggregate basis, the private activity bond total for the project is 52.81%. And with that, I'm open to any questions. Ben Taylor from Lincoln Avenue Communities is on the call. So back to you, Anthea.
Great, thank you. Looks like we have a question from J. Ryan Moses.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Blakeney. The one question I have, you mentioned the 20 units that have been set aside for veterans. Could you please provide the board a description of what those, what the composition of those 20 set asides are? Are they 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 4-bedroom, so on and so forth? Thank you.
I will throw that to Ben.
Yep, happy to answer that, and thanks for having us today, and appreciate the consideration. So yeah, we'll be partnering with Mount Carmel Veteran Services down there and setting aside 20 units to start. That unit mix is still yet to be determined, and it's going to be based on kind of what their need is. We've seen a lot. We currently have that existing relationship on another development in northern Colorado Springs with them, and so we've seen a lot of 2-bedroom requests for them. And then we have had a few families move in from Mount Carmel, which has been great. And they took a 3 and a 4 bedroom, 2 different families from them. So it's going to be kind of an on-need basis, but they will, the way we structure it is that, you know, during lease up, they have kind of a priority for the units for, you know, people that are veterans and their families that are in need. And then as we get stabilized and have vacancies occur, they are kind of on the first call list to say, hey, do you have anyone that can move into this property?
Thanks a lot.
Of course.
Do we have any other questions from the board? All right. Moving on. Next up is the State Housing Board election of officers. I think before we get into this section of the meeting, I'd like to go ahead and ask for some votes of approval. We'll start with Eagle Villas that I'm going to be recusing myself from, and then we will do the other supplemental funding requests and the PAB recommendations together if no one's opposed to that plan. So first up is Eagle Villas. If I could ask for a motion of approval for Eagle Villas as presented.
So moved. This is Dawn.
Thanks, LaDawn.
Second that. This is Monique.
Thanks for that second, Monique. All those in favor signified by aye or hand raised.
Aye.
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 Is anybody opposed? Great, congratulations. Eagle Villas passes. Next up, voting together on the supplemental funding requests, the 3 of them, and the private activity bond recommendation for Bradley Ridge. If I can ask for a motion of approval for these requests, please.
I'll
So
move
moved.
that. Jackson, I move approval.
So I have a motion from James and a second from Nancy Jackson. Is that correct?
Mhm.
All right, excellent. All those in favor signified by aye or hand raised.
Aye.
Aye.
Is
Aye.
anybody opposed? Great, those all pass as well. Congratulations to all of the applicants. The next part of our meeting will be the State Housing Board election of officers. I'd like to ask for you all to bear with me here. I'm going to be reading from the script. So according to the bylaws of the Colorado State Housing Board, the State Housing Board shall annually elect by a majority vote of those present a chair and vice chair. Officers shall assume office immediately upon election and serve for a 1-year term or until the April State Housing Board meeting, whichever occurs first. The annual election shall occur at the State Housing Board first regular meeting in April, which is today, April 8th, 2025. Elections are completed by a vote of the membership for the following positions, chair and vice chair. I will now open the floor for nominations for the chair of the State Housing Board.
This is LaDawn. I nominate Anthea Martin to serve as chair.
Thank you, LaDawn. So your name is stated now for the record, and your nomination is.
Oh yeah, my name is LaDawn Sperling, and I nominate Anthea Martin to serve as chair of the State Housing Board.
Thank you so much, LaDawn. My name is Anthea Martin. I'd like to nominate you for vice chair. I'd like to ask if there's a. I'm laughing at J. Ryan Moses, just smiling at this. Are there any other nominations from the board members at this point? So I'd like to say I consent to the nomination. LaDawn, do you consent to the nomination as well?
Yes, I do.
So may I have a second motion to nominate myself, Anthea Martin, as the continued chair and LaDawn as the continued vice chair? Any discussion?
This is Ryan Moses. I second the nomination for both of you.
Thank you, Ryan. All those in favor signified by aye or hand raised.
Aye.
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Wonderful. Well, the motion carries. Thank you all for your continued support in me for my last year as chair. Let's see. I think that is the end of the script. So thank you all for that. Appreciate it. We will move on now to the last part of the meeting, which is the progress report and the closeout. And Teresa will be leading that.
Hi, everyone. As a reminder, I'm Teresa Casano. I'm the director of the Office of Housing, Finance, and Sustainability. Anthea, I must say, I'm very impressed by your ability to switch from first to second to third person there with a very standard script. So thank you, everyone, and thanks for making that a seamless process. I want to echo Allison George and say that we deeply appreciate all of you, but particularly Candace and the two Ryans for stepping back up. As we transition to a new fiscal year and a very different funding environment, we're hoping to bring you all together in person in May. I will be sending out a survey in the next week to find a time and also to solicit feedback around topics of interest and training to make sure that you feel like this is a useful role for all of you, because it's certainly useful for us. DOH is also committed to updating our board book with more up-to-date information on your roles, background on our different offices, and details on the funding sources to help guide our time together. I also want to make an effort to be a little bit more proactive about showing our collective work, particularly since we now have pretty rigid quarterly applications. So we had just received March funding applications. We are underwriting them now. I think this is a really interesting little graph showing you what is happening with demand in our world. This is round two. The March round is round two of implementing our competitive scoring. If you haven't seen that, I'm happy to share. It's published widely. It's what we apply to all deals now. And here's some numbers to summarize. So understandably, the letters of interest, the LOIs that we receive, tend to vastly outnumber the actual applications. We are continuing to post LOI details on our website publicly so that developers can gauge whether or not it's worth it for them to submit a full application based on how competitive the round is. We are constantly oversubscribed for both rental and homeownership development resources. I'll note that December was a little bit unique in that it was mostly federal funds on the rental side, but you can see in March the demand on rental resources is particularly acute. You will be actually looking at our March recommendations next month, so heads up that those are coming. As I mentioned, we're publishing LOIs on the website. With the budget you received today, there was also a link to our May LOIs. In case you're curious what's coming down the pike and what are in the communities you represent, that's a nice snapshot, and we're always happy to answer questions if you have them. Please feel free to reach out to me. We'll continue to share those as we get them, so you all get a snapshot of deals that are coming in. Before I move to the next slide, are there any questions on this data snapshot? Awesome. Well, let's move on. Next slide, please. So I do want to recognize and sort of foreshadow that State Housing Board feels different than the height of the pandemic. Our current funding environment is much more limited than it was in 2022 and 2023. The stimulus funding has mostly been expended or committed, and we're operating with less resources for gap funding. So for next year, we're projecting about $138 million of gap funding resources. That said, I want to flag that it's very uncertain. Our major source of fund are vendor fee payments. We base next year's projections on beginning of the year. To the extent that tariffs impact our lives, and I think if you've all looked at your accounts lately, you know that's happening a lot already. Those numbers, unfortunately, will shrink. Additionally, somewhere between $10 and $15 million of that is federal funds. We typically get our awards in the fall. We recognize that there's a lot of uncertainty there. So I'll say that $138 million is just a projection, and I would expect swings. We will keep you all updated. We'll also try to make the budget package that we send you a little bit more meaningful and clear, but expect big changes month to month because we're really operating in an uncertain environment. Because of that, it's very critical that we get your input on these deals, right? We want to make sure that we're using our resources thoughtfully and funding the best deals that are out there. And so while this may seem like a strange request, I am inviting your criticism. I am inviting your questions. I think we need to be more strategic about what we do have. And so really excited to continue to work with you over the next year, but make sure that you know we're here for input, whether it be in these meetings or reaching out to me directly. We want your feedback, and we certainly want to make sure that limited funding resources are prioritized in a way that best serves the needs of our state. Any questions? LaDawn, or sorry, Anthea, go ahead.
Thank you. So Teresa, I would love to see a breakdown of this, like the one that has the LOIs, applications, awards by geographic area, to make sure that we are spreading our funding throughout the state as much as possible, and just to kind of see where is the funding going, or even by congressional district.
LaDawn, thank you for that feedback. I think it's something we're working on. How do we convert some of these data into maps? So we will continue to work on that. And hopefully by the time we are together in May, I'll be able to present that to you.
Yeah, you could probably put it in ChatGPT and ask it to do it for you.
You know, I will say our team has experimented with a variety of ChatGPT-like resources. They have their extreme benefits, and they also have their limitations. So we're certainly cognizant of putting any personal data, but yes, I will try it. We'll see what fun maps they can make for me. Other questions on budget for next year or sort of outlook?
Teresa, you mentioned, you alluded to how the 138 million had a certain degree of uncertainty tied to it. Can you expand on that a bit more? Is there any piece of that? If so, how much of it that is certain and locked in? How much of that is exposed to volatility?
Yeah, so I mean, none of it is locked in, but I will say we're expecting our Prop 123 resources for homeownership to be roughly the same. So that's about a third of that. Another third of that is vendor fee. That is quite uncertain. So we receive monthly installments based on sort of the economic outlook. Those change. We're projecting somewhere in the realm of $3 to $4 million a month for next year. Again, if that shrinks, if there are macroeconomic conditions that impact the state, would expect that to shrink. The other piece that's deeply uncertain is the federal funding, which is about $13 million. We honestly, you know, we're all trying to read the tea leaves as best as we can, but there is no certainty we will get our typical CDBG home HTF award. So that's $13 million at play.
That's helpful. Thank you.
And again, this will be an ongoing conversation, and we can sort of break down how those projections flow through different funds so we can continue to track that for you all. Awesome. Well, in that case, thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. And Thea, I'll turn it back to you, but please look out for a survey from me so that we can find some time to meet in person.
Great. Looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Teresa. That brings us to the end of today's State Housing Board meeting. We will convene again in May 13th. Thank you all for your presentations, for your time, for your service, and we will see you again soon.
Bye. Thanks, Cynthia.
Bye.